All right, we are back here on the Cyber Monday Pop Culture Special, talking Tiger King season 2 on Netflix, and might be probably, I will be honest, the worst of the three projects that we're covering in this thing. But somebody's here to talk about it, and joining me is our pop culture correspondent Sam Derosa. Sam, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Even though that was a great lead in.
I'm not gonna undersell the people; it was bad.
Yeah, it was, but hopefully I can pick this up.
Yeah, because I mean, we got to talk about this. Last year, everybody's favorite early pandemic Netflix binge, Tiger King,
Hmm.
massive hit. We knew there was a second one coming. We got 5 more episodes out on Netflix, season 2. And my question to you, first off, is this: did we need it? Did we need Tiger King Part 2?
I mean, simply put, no, absolutely not. Like, it should have stayed in the pandemic. I know that there's been multiple critics saying the same thing as I just said. But I guess, like, if you think you're gonna make money off of something, you're gonna try your hardest to get that money.
Yeah, they certainly are going to try. I mean, we got stories about this. And the reason why I decided to do is because even before this show came out, Carol Baskin sued Netflix with her husband Howard, because they claim that they were not given like the rights to use their image in the sequel. And we see that there's no fresh interviews with Carol Baskin in this thing, and instead
Mhm.
it's basically stuff that's ripped from her Facebook streams, old footage they had of her and Howard talking to the cameras. And it just goes to show you, I mean, like, when you had nothing from her, and when you had the only new footage that Joe Exotic got was like that really weird, like grainy prison shot where it's like he's on a
Like where his
phone.
nose, like his nose is like not
Yeah,
even in the shot. Like,
yeah. You can't even see his face in the shot. You see the nose and you see his hair a little bit. It's like a little like a box surrounded by whatever, and they didn't even blow it up properly. Like that just looks so bad.
it was weird. That whole thing with this, like, Carol Baskin suing, it's like you put that out there for people to see. Like, I there's some way that you kind of like, forfeit any kind of privacy towards your videos.
Yeah,
Like, her things were so explicit too, and you watch the documentary.
yeah.
It's like, what do you expect? They're gonna definitely use that.
Oh, for sure. And I think, to me, there are 5 episodes. I think you and I will both agree they had enough content for maybe 3,
If that.
because the premiere I broke down to 3 chunks really. There's the Joe Exotic tries to get pardoned episode, 2 more episodes of where the hell is Don Lewis,
Hmm.
and then 2 more episodes to sort of follow up on Jeff and Lauren Lowe and the murder for hire plot. They basically took 1 episode extra for each of those second 2 storylines.
Yeah, I mean, I watching it, it was like so cringeworthy, and it was like, where the heck are they going to go with this? And I don't know. It was an interesting plot line, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Let's start off with the Joe Exotic pardon storyline, because I mean, we see that was the first episode. Sort of catch up, like, oh, all the people here are making money, I'm not. And then we have a bunch of stuff about his lawyers trying to get him out. I think the one thing to take out of this one that was hysterical was the fact that Joe Exotic's lawyers were in DC on January 6th during the Trump rally, and then they're getting
Yes.
screamed at by Trump Republicans, saying like, you have no business being here. You don't care about Joe Exotic. You don't care about the country, and like, you're not gonna win fans in this room with the free Joe Exotic banner. They left before the riot.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised that like they didn't have more of like a positive like response to them being there. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, it was like I felt like Joe Exotic and like the whole Donald Trump thing could like go hand in hand.
yeah.
Like, I know he kept like pushing it and deflecting like pardoning Joe Exotic, but it was just, I don't know, it was kind of funny. I thought it, like, in their cars, they were like, half the episode felt like they were wrapping planes, wrapping cars, like, with his face on it. And I'm like, what the heck is this show?
Wait, literally, I was not sitting there watching. I'm like, couldn't understand what the hell was happening there. And
Exactly.
I see the footage there when they see the cryon, sees January 6th, 2021, and there's copping on the plane. We see them in the in the field when the row is going on. I just sit there. I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my god. I'm like, whatever the hell am I watching?
Exactly. It was just like, it was so chaotic, but not in a good way.
Oh, it was so bad. And then we had that happen. We put a pin in that storyline for a little bit.
Mhm.
Then we get to, and by the way, folks, if you did not want to be spoiled on Tiger King Part 2, I'm sorry, but I'll say at the top of the show, I'll say it again. If you really want to sit down and watch all 5 of these episodes, feel free to go on Netflix and binge it and come back about 4 hours and listen to this podcast. But we're saving you a lot of time here by doing the work for you.
Yeah, we're saving you a lot of time. I personally wish I could get this time back, but anything for you, Mike.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And then we get to the second big thing here, which was the Don Lewis stuff, which again, we came and saw the big thing was did Carol Baskin murder her husband and did she feed him to the tigers? Like that was the big runaway theory from season 1. That's where all the TikToks came from and all the memes. And now we basically get this theory that now that Don Lewis might be alive in Costa Rica.
He's definitely not. He's definitely dead. He definitely was in with some gangster stuff, like some, like, mob, whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, she probably didn't kill him, but she definitely knows he's dead.
Yeah, so you're not firmly off the Carol Baskin kill her husband train. You're now back on, you're on the mob killed him somehow.
Yeah, I mean, like they were like, so they're like, like the guys from like what it was like the Dominican or whatever, what like wherever they were from, they were like, yeah, he was like in it deep. Like he did some questionable stuff. Like either like if we would, one of the guys was like, I would know where he is because that's how much money he has, but I haven't heard from him. Like, you know what I mean? Like one of his like henchmen. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Like the whole time I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, first we heard this whole thing about how he was basically slashing money all across the world and like all these offshore bank accounts because he's trying to hide his assets in Carol Baskin. And then we heard about how like apparently he's like trying to like pick up young women in Costa Rica. And like, you're like, this dude sounds like awful.
Yeah, he sounds like a shitty person. And then his daughters are like, we know my dad dabbled in like fuzzy lines. I'm like, those aren't fuzzy lines, guys. Like that's a pretty like cut and dry of what's good and what's bad.
Okay, let me go here now to this storyline. Like what actually was the weirder part of this thing? The point where the lawyer had them film the commercial like went on after Carol Baskin's first dance on Dance with the Stars. They basically asked for information about her involvement in Don's death. Or when they brought the psychic out to the land, the psychic claimed that Don was murdered there, which was worse.
I'm gonna say bringing the psychic to the land for the fact that he just was like, I'm gonna throw up, I'm gonna be sick, and I'm like, they spent like 2 full minutes on that, and I'm like, what? Again, that's today's like reoccurring, plot line as what is this like whole thing going on?
Yeah, that was a very, very, very strange sequence of events, that whole situation. By the way, we'll get to him later. That lawyer is something else.
I have no words for that lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know he shares the same last name as me, but like no relation to that guy.
Yeah. Well, what bothered me the most and is the fact that he had a Captain American shield in his office. It's like, you don't deserve that. You should take that off your wall. I hope Marvel gets upset that he has that.
Yeah, for me, that guy was literally just everybody's saying, everybody's making money off of this thing. That guy, number one, makes so much money off of this thing. Just sticking his nose in where it's Don Lewis. Later on, becomes Joe Exotic's lawyer, trying to get him out of jail. I mean, like, he's everywhere just trying to make a buck.
Heck yeah. He was, I know we're going to get into this later, but he's not the best.
Oh, he's not. Then we get to our last 2 episodes, and folks, we are about 9 minutes in here. We're almost through the entire season of Tiger King Tour, right? It tells you how little they had.
Yeah.
So we get the last episode basically about Jeff and Lauren Lowe, about all the shady stuff they've been up to. And one of the most ridiculous things, and I guarantee you this is on the cutting room floor of season 1. They just had no room for it. And then they said, oh, we need something to fill the time. We're going to throw this in season 2. Code 69, which apparently at the park means that like Jeff and Lauren basically had people looking out for young, attractive women to bring with them to have threesomes with them, like sitting there watching this. I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing here?
I was just like, okay, so we have like the whole, like, the whole murder thing, like who killed him, like all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, so we have this code about hot like women in the zoo in wherever the hell they are in the Midwest. And then it's just like you have like Jeff Lowe and his wife Lauren, and then you have this random ass woman. I'm just like, again, what? Like, where the hell did this come from?
And to make it weirder, I mean, like, the camera crew was there, so they clearly gave them permission to film that encounter with the random woman they were with.
Yeah, and it's just like, I get it, whatever. Like, you know, wear what you want, like, be who you are. Like, I'm all about that. But like, just, you know, like the whole filming thing where Jeff Lowe's sitting in the chair and she's just sitting in lingerie, and I'm just like, what? Like, are you promoting something else besides Tiger King right now? Like, what is this like meaning?
Yeah, that one was like very, very messy.
It was so, and it was like, it was in there for like what, 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
They kept going back to it.
Yeah, and then it's just like, it just kept like disappearing, and I'm like, it just had nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. It was like this weird little like subplot that had no reason to be in there.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole thing with the Jeff and Lauren Rose, they basically find out that we learned at the end of the first season that basically they got screwed, and that Carol Baskin got the zoo back from them, and all the cats are gone. So they basically now, the claim that they made here is that they set Joe Exotic up to take the fall for whatever, so they can get the zoo out from under him. And they basically get arrested for drunk driving. They decide, you know, we're tired of getting screwed by the government, so we're going to flip to the lawyer, which brings our buddy John Phillips back in, where he gets them to sign affidavits where they claim that they set Joe Exotic up to take the fall here. So you surprised by that at all?
No, just because like I feel like he's an easy target. Like, sorry, Joe, but like, you know what I mean? Like, he just puts himself out there to be a target, and they're like, perfect. Like, nobody likes him. Not a single person wants to be on his team. But like, what's his face? Like the hitman.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's something a little off about that man. Like, he's not fully there, and I'm like, I feel like they were just taking advantage of that hitman.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get to Alan Glover now too, because the Alan Glover has a very interesting theory. It's very different from theirs, where he claims that the money he got paid was not to kill Carol Baskin or Freight and Joe for, it's to kill Joe Exotic. And the whole thing we get is that basically he claims that he was supposed to have a barbed wire across a path of road that Joe Exotic comes along driving on his what do you call it, on his
four-wheeler or whatever.
Comes driving on his ATV, he runs through, gets decapitated. And I'm like, and then they at the stage this whole thing where they claim to find the barbed wire on the property. Like,
I was just gonna say that, like, how ridiculous was that whole thing? Like, I found it, I found the wire, and you're like, what? Like I said, I'm gonna keep coming back to the whole what?
Yeah, I think this might be a more appropriate sound drop for this.
What the hell's going on out here?
I think that's like the best use of that for anything that you and I have done. That is like nails it right on the head.
Yeah, and he has this theory. Basically, he's saying that he was being paid to kill Joe Exotic, and Joe Exotic is like, oh, this is interesting. Well, Jeff and Lauren Lowe are calling him a liar. So whose side do you take on this one? Do you believe Jeff and Lauren, or do you believe Alan Glover?
I honestly believe that every single person that has met Joe Exotic or has worked with Joe Exotic has been like, we should kill this guy because he's so annoying, as we all know. So like, I feel like there's probably some truth to it, but like, they're just trying to like get everybody they can on their own side. So they know that like, if they save Joe Exotic from jail, he'll be on their side, and then they can all like fight against the bigger power to keep their big cats. It's like a weird thing that I don't believe anybody's ever going to tell the truth. Not a single time they're on ever.
Yeah. I think it'll be fascinating to see how that plays out in terms of, I think that's something we're going to be keeping a pin in the future here. But I also think the show knows that Joe Exotic is moneymaker. So they did a lot of work to try and make him seem like a redeemable guy, whether it was the footage of, I just something they mentioned the first season was like a story about his first husband, how he passed away in his arms. You see at the end, he gives us his monologue about how like, oh, I'm in the cage, like my tigers were, and I feel bad. I'm gonna be a changed man going out of prison, and like all of that, like you don't actually buy that, do you?
No, they're all, you know, they're all liars, every single one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm not even trying to be mean about it, and I'm sure they agree. They're all showmen.
Yeah. They're all trying to make a buck.
Exactly.
I mean, Joe Exotic starts the show like they're all making their millions and I'm in prison. So like he's just trying to make his millions and get himself a Disney movie when he gets out of there.
Yeah, especially because like, everything just like aligns with like the lows. Like they're just doing this to like help them get out of, trouble.
Yeah.
And I bet you they're gonna like partner with Carol Baskin in the future. I don't know how, but that's my guess.
Yeah, and we didn't get many of the other like ancillary characters you got from season 1. I mean, we didn't get Doc Antle back. We didn't get the director Kirk, like I forget what the old guy who was supposed to be the documentarian on that project.
Yeah.
He was not there. Like we got a very narrow scope. I'm sure like a lot of people just like, sure, I'll take my check, but like we didn't get many of these other guys.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that they didn't want to be a part of it anymore or something. Because, like when you see yourself in light and how the public perceives you, you might not even want to even be part of the program anymore.
Yeah. And I think they are trying in the worst possible way to get themselves a season 3, because we got a significant detour in episodes 4 and 5 about this other lunatic, Tim Stark, who like,
oh my God,
he is like 50 times worse than anybody in the first season, where basically like, he is like this swearing, like drunk guy.
Oh,
who apparently killed a bunch of animals by leaving in a trailer overnight. Everybody went to have a booty call, and like they're trying to make us think, oh, look at this crazy guy. You gotta cover him. I'm like, no, we don't. I don't care about that guy.
Exactly, because like off camera, like off this podcast right now, me and you were talking, and I didn't even think that there was gonna be a season 3 until like, I don't know, the last 30 minutes of the episode 5.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? And that whole Tim Stark thing, he always has a poor monkey on him 24/7, even in the first season too. And I'm like, this poor monkey needs some sort of redemption story.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm trying to go right now and check on where it is on the list, because I'm going to go to my Netflix account here and just take a look at the top 10, see where it is right now.
I saw it was on 3 probably like an hour ago. It was behind Red Notice and Cowboy, that cowboy thing.
That is correct. It is currently number 3 on day of recording in the top 10. So behind Red Nose. And I mean, it's been there. I'll see how long it stays there. I mean, Squid Game stayed there for a while. And it's still at the top. I think it was at 10 last I looked at. I don't know if it still fell out or whatnot, but
yeah,
I think they are going to try and shove a Tiger King 3 down our throats as soon as there's any kind of Joe Exotic update that they can actually get him on a camera for.
Yeah, I mean, the only way they're going to get a story is if he's out of jail.
Yeah.
Only way they're going to get a season 3. So maybe we won't get a season 3 for a couple years.
Yeah, I don't know what's maybe they'll give us a 3-episode update again in next year. I feel like they're gonna try that just to try and get something out, because this is sort of what happened, I think, with Making a Murderer. Where Making a Murderer came out on Netflix. They've been doing it for years. They're filming it. Comes out, it's a massive sensation. People say we want more. They came out of season 2 and there was nothing up there. They're both still in prison. Like here, we got nothing new because Joe Exotic's still in prison. Carol Baskin didn't want to talk to them. A lot of the other players didn't really talk to them, and you got nothing.
It's like, also there's nothing to talk about, I feel like, too.
Yeah.
Like, there's gonna be, the cats got taken away and stuff. Like, at the end it was so sad. They're like, this is the first time these cats have ever like run around. And I'm like, wow, that's depressing, because all in all, this is just a depressing documentary about animal cruelty.
Yeah. And the Tiger's still the biggest losers by far.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Before we get to the season, like before we get to the end of this thing, we have to have a draft here. I think 3 rounds, the worst people in this show in season 2.
Well, you should go first, because I'm sure we both have the same number 1.
Yeah, well, I think we both agree. I'm gonna agree here. Tim Stark is little human trash. Straight
literally
trash.
The worst person ever. It's like the whole thing, it was so cringeworthy. It was like nervous watching him on this show. It's crazy.
He is a psychopath, so we'll take him off the board. Who would you take next?
So for draft number pick 2, or now we're going back to 1?
At your first one, then. So
okay. So then, I mean, I'm gonna go with, because I know you're probably gonna pick them, so I'm gonna go to a different one. But I'm moving back to James Garretson.
Oh God.
Like, I mean, the speedboat thing has me laughing in stitches chronically. But like this guy's like playing two different sides. Like he's just, he's just a literal piece of trash. He's like so horrible. And then you see him at that like weird like parish house or whatever it's called. Like I can't remember the name of it. But I'm like, this guy's disgusting. He's like literally a gross piece of human trash.
Yeah. And you mentioned it. That shot of him riding the jet ski, like in the water, they keep going back to it over and over again. He looks like such a tool on that jet ski.
He does. And he's just like constantly changing his story about who he supports and who he doesn't. It's just like, we get it. You're just trying to be friends with everybody. It's so annoying.
Yeah. I think for this, my second pick, I'm going to go to Joe Exotic's lawyer, John Phillips, because that guy is literally just money hungry. I want my 10 minutes in the spotlight. You heard Don Lewis's daughters were trying to find what's happening. Dad's like, yeah, we don't think he actually wants to find out. He just wants to get himself in the spotlight. So when the daughters could see you're basically full of shit, like that tells you all you need to know.
That exactly. And then, that weird clip with him being on like The Price is Right and stuff did not sit well with me. And he's just a really like villainous dude.
Yeah. Okay, so we got 3 more picks. You have 2 more. I have 1. So we're going to the next person.
All right. So I'm sorry to take it away from you, but Jeff Lowe. Yeah. Because he's literally like driving while intoxicated and like mistreating animals and being just like literal scum. He's just like, how do you like? I don't know how he's not dead yet, to be honest.
Yeah, I
don't. Did somebody not kill him?
Yeah, I just don't get it.
I don't either.
Yeah. I'm going to throw one out there. I think his edit took a big dip in season 2. Don Lewis. I mean, we felt so bad for him in season 1. Like, oh, he may got fed to tigers. Now we find out that he's trying to hook up with younger women in Costa Rica. He's laundering money. He's up to all sorts of shady shenanigans. And it's like Don Lewis did not have a good season.
No, he didn't. Because like, I kind of feel bad for his daughters because they're like, it's my dad. And we're like, your dad was trash.
Yeah.
Straight trash.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more.
Okay, so I have somebody in mind, but I'm gonna skip them. I'm gonna go to Dylan.
Yeah.
Because Dylan has like sold his like fame with being Joe Exotic's. I thought they were like married. Were they not?
They were.
So he sold that entire thing. And now he's like being an influencer. Like that's just gross to me. Like that all of his entire storyline was like bullshit.
Yeah.
Straight crap.
That was part of the Joe Exotic redemption tour. He's like, oh, I feel bad because like if Dylan was in jail, I'd be doing everything I can to get Dylan out. Dylan's out there. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I can't just show up to jail and tell him to let him go. And then he said he basically just dumped him and moved on.
Exactly. And I would have picked Joe, but he had his like stupid like, this is the up to here filming, like, the shot that they had. So I can't even pick Joe. Like personally, I couldn't pick Joe for the whole thing, but like Dylan, like, dang, like you have Joe to thank for your any kind of fame. And now you just like dump him. Yeah.
And just like that, we've got through the entire season in 23 minutes flat, which is less than half of one episode.
Yeah. Cause there's nothing to talk about in this entire season.
No, I will say though, like, what was your like most memorable moment here for you? What stuck out the most for you?
My most memorable moment was basically like the last episode with Tim Starr, because I feel like if they just did the one episode with like, some of the stuff from the episodes 1 through 4, but like, the rest of season, like episode 5, I apologize. That was basically the entire season. Yeah. They could have done episode 5 with the whole thing with crazy like Tim Stark and everything, and probably like 30 to 40 minutes of between episodes 1 and 4, and that could have just been like Tiger King, like update, or season 2, just one episode,
like a 90-minute special, basically.
Exactly, that's all they needed.
Yeah, not 4 hours. So what we basically got.
No, and it was a rough 4 hours, mind you.
Yeah, I think for me, the most memorable thing is still the fact that Joe Exotic's lawyer was trying to get him pardoned on January 6th. I will never forget that.
Oh my God. That was probably like, I just got such bad secondhand embarrassment from that I was just like, I just try to choose not to remember that.
I mean, if the insurrectionists don't want you, that's a problem.
Yeah, they have him screaming like, get out, we don't like you, we don't care about this. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That says something.
It's like cat killers had no sympathy with us.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's just pretty nuts. But Sam, I want to thank you for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you
No,
go,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
how can people follow on social media and keep up with what you're up to?
You can follow me on Twitter at SDEROS5 or on TikTok because I'm going to start promoting myself on there because I do some pretty funny stuff. But I'm at Salmon Sports. But yeah, just Google Sam Derosa. You're bound to find me.
For sure. And now we gotten past the bad part of the podcast where we got past all the terrible Tiger King stuff, which I mean, not us being bad, but the material we covered was awful.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go to the next part here. We're going to go to Alan Austin, and then we're going to talk about King Richard. Have you seen this movie yet?
No, I have not, but it's definitely on my top of my queue.
Yeah, highly recommend it. We will dive into that movie right after this.